Put one person in a room and you can mostly predict what they will do. Put them in a group and a different set of rules switches on without asking, without being noticed, and often against everything that person believes. You are running those rules right now in every room you enter and you cannot feel them, because from the inside, they just look like ordinary judgment. There are 12 of them. By the end of this video, you'll be able to name the exact moment a group takes over a decision, including yours. Ready? Let's go. First, the rule that keeps every room quiet. Noodle is in a waiting room. Smoke starts drifting under the door. That is not normal. He looks around. Nobody else is reacting. So he doesn't react either. And now the person next to him sees Noodle not reacting and takes that as evidence too. Researchers ran exactly this. Alone in the room, most people reported the smoke within 2 minutes. In a group where the others deliberately ignored it, most sat there for 6 minutes in a room filling with smoke. Everyone was privately worried. Everyone read everyone else's calm face as information. The group looked certain, and it was made entirely of people copying each other's poker faces. That's pluralistic ignorance. Ever sat in a meeting confused and assumed everyone else understood? You just did it. Next, the rule that decides whether anyone helps. Someone sits down heavily on the pavement, clearly unwell. 20 people are present. Noodle thinks someone will handle this, and so does everyone else, and the thought is unanimous, and nobody moves. Darley and Latane found that the more witnesses there are, the slower any individual is to act, because responsibility gets divided by the number of people present until each share is small enough to ignore. But here's the honest update. Later research on real recorded emergencies found that someone does usually intervene, especially when the danger is obvious. The effect is real for ambiguous situations, not a law of human nature, and it collapses instantly if you remove the maths, point at one person, describe them, and give them one job. That's the bystander effect. Ever waited for someone else to say something first? You just did it. This next one overrides your own eyes. Noodle is shown 2 lines. One is obviously longer. Easy. Then 7 other people, one after another, calmly say the shorter one is longer. Noodle looks again. The lines have not changed. He says the shorter one. Solomon Ash ran this with a fake group and found that about 1/3 of the time, people went along with an answer they could see was wrong, and 3/4 caved at least once. This is not being convinced. Most of them still saw the correct line. They just could not carry being the only one. And one single ally, one other person who disagrees out loud, cuts it dramatically. That's conformity. Ever agreed with a room while quietly disagreeing? You just did it. Next. Why groups get less done than the same people alone. Noodle joins a tug-of-war team. He pulls, obviously. He would tell you he pulled with everything he had. Measured on a rope with sensors, people pull at about half strength in a group of 8 compared to pulling alone, and nobody notices themselves doing it. Ringelmann found this with actual ropes over a century ago. The bigger the group, the smaller each individual's effort, because effort disappears into the average and no single share is visible. This is why the 8-person group project runs on 2 people. Make the contribution visible, and the loafing mostly stops. That's social loafing. Ever felt yourself coasting in a group task? You just did it. This next one takes your name off. Noodle in daylight alone is polite. Noodle in a crowd, in the dark, in a costume, in a comment section, is a different animal. Not because he changed, but because the thing that normally regulates him went quiet. Researchers tested this on Halloween with trick-or-treaters and a bowl marked "Take One." Children in costumes, in groups whose names had not been asked, took far more than children who had been asked their name first. Anonymity plus a group lowers the volume of self-monitoring, and behavior drifts toward whatever the group is doing. Every anonymous username is that Halloween bowl. That's de-individuation. Ever typed something you would never say out loud? You just did it. Next, the one that spreads without a single word. One person yawns. Noodle yawns. One person in a crowd starts running, and 200 people run without knowing what from. Applause works the same way. One pair of hands, then a wave, then a room, and none of them decided anything. Emotions move through groups faster than reasons do, because your brain reads faces and bodies constantly and quietly copies them, which is efficient and completely uncritical. You catch the mood before you evaluate the situation, and then you build a reason for the mood you already caught. That's emotional contagion. Ever left a room in a mood that wasn't yours when you arrived? You just did it. This next one is why groups end up more extreme than any of their members. Noodle mildly prefers option A. He joins 6 people who also mildly prefer option A. They discuss. 90 minutes later, the group is certain, loud, and ready to bet the house on option A, and every individual now holds a stronger opinion than they walked in with. Nobody argued them into it. Discussion inside an agreeing group does not average opinions. It stretches them because you hear supporting arguments you hadn't thought of, and because looking slightly more committed than average is socially rewarded. Every group chat, every board meeting, every timeline does this. That's group polarization. Ever come out of a conversation more sure than you went in? You just did it. Next, how fast your brain builds a team. Henry Tujfel wanted the minimum conditions for group loyalty, so he made the groups as meaningless as possible. He told strangers they preferred one painter over another based on a quick test and split them on that. No history, no contact, no shared interest, nothing at stake. Then he let them allocate money. They favored their own group immediately. Some even chose an option that gave their own side less, as long as it beat the other group by more. Coin flip groups. That is all it takes. Your brain will make a team out of nothing and then start keeping score. That's in-group favoritism. Ever felt loyalty to a group you joined 10 minutes ago? You just did it. This next one is the only good news in the video. One person starts something ridiculous in public. Alone. Dancing, protesting, objecting in a meeting. Alone? They are a weirdo. Then one other person joins, and that second person changes everything because they turn one lunatic into a small thing that exists. And joining a small thing is much cheaper than starting one. Research on minority influence found that a consistent minority can shift a majority, but only if it holds its position without wobbling. The first follower is what converts a person into a movement, which means the most valuable position in any room is not the loudest one. It's second. Being second is quiet, and it is the entire mechanism. That's the first follower effect. Ever put your hand up second and felt how easy it was? You just did it. Next, the message that causes the thing it warns about. A park puts up a sign. Many visitors steal the petrified wood. Please don't. Theft goes up. Researchers tested exactly this and found the sign mentioning how many people were stealing produced more stealing than a sign that simply said, please leave the wood, because every warning contains two messages and people hear the wrong one. Don't do this is the instruction. Everyone does this is the information, and the information wins because your brain treats what most people do as the safest guess about what to do. Never advertise how common the bad behavior is. That's the norm backfire. Ever been told nobody replies to these and then not replied? You just did it. The second to last one is what happens when a group would rather agree than be right. Noodle is in a meeting. He has a serious objection. He looks around. Everyone is nodding. He decides his objection is probably stupid and says nothing. Everyone in the room runs the same calculation. The decision passes unanimously, and afterwards, every single person says they had doubts. Irving Janis studied disastrous political decisions and found the same fingerprints every time. An illusion of unanimity, quiet self-censorship, pressure on doubters, and a leader who states their preference first. That last one is the killer. Once the person with power has spoken, the room stops thinking and starts agreeing. The fix is mechanical. The leader speaks last, and someone is assigned to argue the other side. That's groupthink. Ever swallowed an objection because the room seemed sure? You just did it. And the last one is the boss level, because it runs the other 11 even when nobody is there. Noodle spills something on his shirt. He now spends 4 hours convinced that everyone can see it. He replays it at night. Researchers had students walk into a room wearing a deliberately embarrassing t-shirt, then asked them how many people had noticed. The students guessed around half. The real number was under a quarter, and most of those could not say what the shirt showed. You are the main character of your own view and a background extra in everyone else's, and they are all busy being the main character of theirs. Here's why it's the boss. Most of the rules in this video need an actual group. This one supplies an imaginary one permanently, so you follow the rules of an audience that isn't watching. That's the spotlight effect. Ever changed your behavior for people who weren't looking? You just did it. So, 12 rules, all running in every room you walk into, none of them asking permission. You can't leave the group, and you shouldn't, but you can be the one who says the obvious thing out loud, because that single sentence breaks 4 of these at once. It ends the silence. It gives the doubters an ally. It makes someone responsible, and it stops the room mistaking quiet for agreement. And if you can't be first, be second. Next week, every trick your brain uses to decide who to trust in the first 3 seconds. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and tell me in the comments which one got you. Use your noodle. See you in the next one.